Good morning. Good morning. Continuing with knowing God's plan. By Rabbi Moshe Chaim Luzzato. The precise system through which God directs every aspect of existence. So this is the end of chapter 5, and there's a chapter 5 summary that's about 3 pages long. And in that 3 pages long, there's 3 headings, and we're on the second heading, the limits within which evil is confined. The limits within which evil is confined. And today is Thursday, February 8th, maybe? In the morning, probably 9:30 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. My name is Ernest Howard, and I'm just doing this just because. I don't know why yet, but it's not painful. It doesn't hurt to do it, which is a good sign. Right. Okay. So I'm picking up here where it starts here. We must remember that God runs the world through the 2 fundamental attributes of revelation and concealment. Revelation, manifesting, emanating, revelation, revealing things to the creatures, which are us. And concealment, pulling back on that revelation, pulling back on that emanation to where it's hard to see God anymore. We start to see the evil in things. We must remember that God runs the world through the 2 fundamental attributes of revelation and concealment. They are the sources of perfection and imperfection. Revelation, perfection; concealment, imperfection. And ultimately of good and evil. Good being revelation, evil being concealment. It is necessary to understand that just because something is imperfect, concealment, that does not make it evil. Even angels are not perfect, since only God is perfect. Yet they do not contain evil. Only when we get to the level of human beings are the imperfections great enough to cause actual evil. So only when we get to the level of human beings are the imperfections great enough to cause actual evil. What I believe he's talking about here is only when we get to the level of human beings. What I believe he's saying as far as levels are concerned is this revelation, this emanation of perfect godliness, to the point to where godliness is like gone, and then he stops it, and God starts going the other direction towards perfection again. And so that's what I think they mean by level. So coming down that level, you got the angels, there's no evil there. But then when you get down to the humans, that's where he had withdrawn the emanation enough to where evil exists, in the level we're at, in Malchut, they call it. So even angels are not perfect, since only God is perfect, yet they do not contain evil. Only when we get to the level of human beings are the imperfections great enough to cause actual evil. For this reason, they are subject to the evil inclination. Human beings. For this reason, they are subject to evil inclination, illness, and death. So there's no evil inclination in godliness. There's no illness and death in godliness. Similarly, God brought imperfection into existence on the level of the divine emanations. But only as the level of imperfection became progressively greater did this lead to the creation of evil itself. Okay, so I'm glad he's telling us this again. only when we get to the level of human beings are the imperfections great enough to cause actual evil. All the way down here, which is a level of great withdrawal of the light. And with that great withdrawal of God's light, evil shows up, because that's all that's left. For this reason we are subject to the evil inclination. Evil inclination exists because of the withdrawal of the godliness. Illness and death. Illness and death exist because of the withdrawal of godliness. Similarly, God brought imperfection into existence on the level of the divine emanations. Similarly. So the divine emanations, that's what we talked about in the other videos, well, that the book talks about, that God did these godly divine emanations, and it's just like they're perfect. There's no evil in that, but then he withdrew from that. He withdrew the godliness, the light from those emanations, and then evil shows up. So God brought imperfection into existence on the level of divine emanations, started off with divine emanations, but only as the level of imperfection became progressively greater did this lead to the creation of evil itself. Only as the level of imperfection became progressively greater. He kept pulling back, gets to the place of imperfection, not necessarily evil yet, but it's imperfection. He keeps pulling back the godliness. Only as a level of imperfection became progressively greater did this lead to the creation of evil itself. God brought this about by creating the existence of limitation and measurement. So this is new for me. I got to really think about this. God brought this about by creating the existence of limitation and measurement. He gradually increased the amount of limitation, creating the required balance of perfection and imperfection at each descending level. God brought this about. Okay, so what did he bring about? Only as the level of imperfection became progressively greater did this lead to the creation of evil itself. The level of imperfection got progressively greater and greater, which led to evil itself. God brought this about. I think he's talking about evil. God brought this about by creating the existence of limitation and measurement. Okay, so limitation, we're going to talk about that first. He gradually increased the amount of limitation. So I'm thinking that he stopped it, and now he's gradually going the other direction. I think he gradually increased the amount of limitation, creating the required balance of perfection and imperfection at each descending level. At each descending level. So it sounds like there's levels that are being created here, and not just this withdrawal that has no checkpoints. It's not like this withdrawal that just, it's like perfection, this flow of withdrawal. It's like, no, it seems like there's checkpoints here, because he says creating the required balance of perfection and imperfection at each descending level. Clearly there's levels that are created from the descent, coming down from the light perfect down to us that is increasingly withdrawn of the light. In conclusion, we can see that when God decided to create evil, he concealed his presence to the ultimate extent. We see that when God decided to create evil, he concealed his presence to the ultimate extent. So when God said, I need evil, I'm choosing evil as a part of this creation I'm creating, he's like, and this is how I'm going to do it. I am going to conceal my presence, God's presence, to the ultimate extent. Wow. To the ultimate extent means to where God's godliness is no longer there. All that's left is just evil. This brought about destruction and evil on the level of the general composition of nature. Right, okay. So it sounds like that's what they're saying here. He's saying is that that's what God decided. I'm going to make this creation, and this creation needs evil. And the way I'm going to create evil is I am going to emanate myself, which is beautiful, light, godliness, perfection. And then I'm going to withdraw myself from that emanation. And that is going, and so he withdrew it all the way to the point of it bringing about destruction and evil on the level of the general composition of nature. Oh, it says here, he concealed his presence to the ultimate extent. Yeah, wow, the ultimate extent to where there's no godliness left. I think that's tohu, T-O-H-U. Okay. This brought about destruction and evil on the level of the general composition of nature. This total concealment was only for a brief moment. Yeah, I think you're talking about tohu here. So he withdrew himself so much, it's just like there's nothing but evil. It's just, ugh. This total concealment was only for a brief moment, just enough to create all the forces of destruction necessary for the world. After that, he reversed the process by turning back toward the creation and once again revealing the light of his presence. Oh, blessed be he, Lord God. Baruch Hashem, you're so good. I love you. We all love you. The creation once again revealing the light of his presence. In this way, the world would survive for the time decreed. Had he chosen, he could have totally perfected the world at that point. He did not do this, however. He put in place a complex system that would guide the world, us, to its ultimate perfection. Evil will then be destroyed, and the entire creation will acknowledge that everything God did throughout all of history was only for the good. Had he chosen, he could have totally perfected the world at that point. He could have brought it all the way back to godliness, but he didn't. He stopped it. He took it from perfect godliness all the way to concealing his presence to the ultimate extent, so all the evil forces could appear. And then he started bringing it back, and it's like he could have brought it all the way back, but he stopped it again and said, no, this is where I want it, this balance of evil and goodness. Had he chosen, he could have totally perfected the world at that point. He did not do this. However, he put in place a complex system, a beautiful complex system that we exist in, that would guide the world to its ultimate perfection. So this evil and goodness, it's here. This is what we live with, we work with. It's curriculum. It's the basics of our study. It's the basics of our experience here. And just, what an opportunity. The thing is that we don't remember any of this when we're souls and we're being born into a body. It's just like, nope, you're not going to remember any of this. And because we don't remember, sometimes we're frightened about the world we live in. Because we believe we are our bodies. We believe that our bodies are who we are. And as our body is vulnerable and it dies, that's frightening. He put in place a complex system that would guide the world to its ultimate perfection. We're getting there. We're getting there. We're getting there. Evil will then be destroyed, and the entire creation will acknowledge that everything God did throughout all history was only for the good. Yeah. So we are going back. He started off with his perfection and withdrew his beautiful light all the way to where it didn't exist anymore to create the evil. Then he started bringing it back, and he stopped it. From that point, we have been working back towards godliness. So we're going there. And part of that evil is in our minds, in our thoughts, in our consciousness. That's where a lot of this evil is. It shows up. And we got to make sure that we acknowledge that is who's talking to me right now. And I mean, when a voice in me is saying I'm not good enough, I'm frightened. Is God really going to save me? Am I going to get this job? What if I don't get this job? Oh my gosh. What if I run out of money? Oh my gosh. What if I can't pay my motorhome payment? Oh my gosh. You know, what if what if these things happen? I'm worried. That's the evil. That's Satan. That's the opposite of faith. So I got to say, I can't listen to you anymore. I can't listen to you anymore. And therein lies the rub. Because it's work. Because it is work. But we can get there. We are making progress. I know I'm making progress. I know you're making progress too. Okay? And don't give up. Love and light. Okay. Saint, don't give up, buddy. Daisy and Brownie, right? Love and light.